My name is Elizabeth. I was a mother. I was a wife. And I was someone's home. But sometimes, home is the very thing people choose to leave. Before we begin, please like, subscribe, share, and comment below. This story is for anyone who has ever loved someone who disappeared. I spent 48 years married to a man I loved deeply. He was my best friend. His name was Henry, and together we had one son. His name was Tom. He was everything to us. Our joy, our miracle, our first and only child. We raised him in a warm house, a big house full of books, toys, music, and laughter. I still remember the little footsteps on the stairs, his laugh echoing down the hallway, his tiny hands on my cheeks when he said, "You're my best girl, Mommy." I thought that love like that would last forever, but children grow, and sometimes they grow away from you. Tom left for college with a proud smile and a promise. He said he would be back. He said we would always be close. I packed his favorite cookies in a tin. I hugged him twice, and I watched our only son walk into the world. I believed in him. We both did. For a while, he kept calling. Every weekend, telling us about school, friends, new places. And then, it slowed. 1 week missed, then 2, then months. I started leaving the phone by my bed, in case he called at night. He didn't. We sent letters. No reply. Henry called, straight to voicemail. And slowly, Tom disappeared, like mist. He got married. We found out through a friend of a friend. Her name was Anna. We were happy for him, even through the pain. We invited them to visit. No response. We asked if they needed help. No answer. There is a special kind of grief for people who are still alive. Every Christmas, I set an extra plate. Every birthday, I bought a card I never sent. I thought of him during thunderstorms, hoped he was safe, wondered if he remembered the sound of my voice. I watched the seasons change from the window, always waiting for the sound of his car, pulling into the driveway, but it never came. Years passed, and the silence became part of the house. Henry and I leaned on each other. We laughed again, traveled a bit, held hands in the garden, but there was always a space, a missing heartbeat, a name unspoken in some conversations. Then came the diagnosis. Cancer. 3 words. You have stage 3. I was afraid, but I was not alone. Henry stayed beside me. He held my hand during chemo, read to me during the nights I could not sleep. He shaved my head for me, kissed my forehead when I cried. We told no one, not even Tom. We did not know how to reach him, and deep down, I was not sure he would come. Still, I prayed. I imagined him coming through that door, kneeling by my side, saying, "I'm sorry, Mom. I'm here now." But he never came. Not once. Not when my hair fell out. Not when I got too weak to walk. Not even when I wrote him a final letter. I never sent. I was dying, and my son was a stranger. I sat near the window every day, wrapped in a soft blue blanket, the one Henry bought me years ago. It was warm, gentle on my skin, like his love. The world outside kept moving. Cars passed, children played, the trees swayed in the wind, but inside, time felt slow. Still, I was getting weaker. Some days I could not even stand. Some days I could not speak. Henry stayed by my side, always. He made me soup, helped me brush my teeth, held the cup to my lips when I could no longer lift it. He smiled for me, even when his eyes were tired, even when I saw him cry quietly in the kitchen. And still, no word from Tom. One night, I asked Henry, "Do you think he knows?" He looked away. His voice cracked. "I do not know, Liz." There was pain in his eyes, not just for me, but for the man our son had become. So I wrote a letter, not to beg, not to blame, just to say goodbye. I used the pink stationery from our anniversary box, the one with flowers on the edges, the same kind I used when Tom was little to leave him notes in his lunchbox. I wrote slowly. My hands were shaky, but my words were clear. "Dear Tom, if you are reading this, it means I could not tell you in person. I hope life has been kind to you. I hope you are healthy, safe, and happy. I do not know why you left. I will never understand, but I want you to know I loved you every day, even in silence, even in your absence. I wanted you near. I wanted you to come home. But I understand now, some people leave, not because they do not love you, but because they do not know how to stay." I folded the letter, placed it in an envelope, wrote his name on the front. I asked Henry to keep it. "Maybe one day he will come back," I said. He nodded, but we both knew he might never come. As my body got weaker, my memories grew stronger. I remembered Tom's tiny fingers in mine, his laugh on Christmas morning, the time he got sick and clung to me all night. I remembered his first steps, his first words, his first heartbreak, and I remembered the last time he said, "I love you, Mom." He was 19. He hugged me in a rush before getting on a bus. That was over 20 years ago. I never heard those words again. One evening, I told Henry the first was tired. He helped me to bed, tucked the blanket around my shoulders. I looked at him. He smiled. I whispered, "Thank you for staying." He kissed my forehead, held my hand, and said, "I always will." I closed my eyes, and for the first time in a long time, I felt peace. I was not afraid. I had loved deeply, given fully, waited patiently, and even though my son never returned, I had never stopped being his mother. After I left, Henry sat in the living room for a long, long time. He did not speak. He did not cry right away. He just sat still, holding the letter I wrote, the one I had asked him to keep. The house was quiet, so quiet that the ticking of the clock sounded like thunder. My blanket still lay on the chair, my cup of tea untouched. The air still smelled like lavender, the scent I used to calm myself when the pain came. But the worst pain now was not in the body. It was in the heart. Henry folded my letter carefully. He placed it in a small box, along with my wedding ring, a photo of our wedding day, and a pressed flower from our first trip together. He held the box to his chest, and finally he wept. He wept for the years we loved. He wept for the mornings we spent in silence, drinking coffee side by side. He wept for the meals we never finished, the sunsets we missed, but more than anything, he wept for the son, who never came back. He tried once more to call Tom, just once, not to scold, not to beg, just to say, "She is gone." The call went to voicemail. Henry left no message. He knew there was nothing left to say that would not fall into silence. Days passed, then weeks. People came by, friends, neighbors, old church members. They brought flowers, food, and kind words, but no one brought Tom, not even a card, not even a single line. That said, I heard. The seasons began to shift. Winter came slowly. Henry kept the house warm, lit candles in my memory, placed fresh flowers where my photo stood. He talked to me sometimes, softly, when no one else was around. He would say, "Liz, I made your soup today, just the way you liked it." Or, "I saw a girl today in the market who looked just like you when you were young." Or, "I miss the way you laughed at my bad jokes." And then, one morning, he opened the drawer and saw the letter I had written to Tom. He read it again, carefully, slowly, word by word. When he reached the end, his eyes stayed on the final sentence. "Even in your absence, I never stopped being your mother." He closed the letter, took a breath, and whispered, "She forgave you," but he could not. Not yet, not fully, not when he had watched me fade, day by day, hour by hour, still waiting for a door to open. That never did. Henry packed the letter in a new envelope, stamped it, addressed it, but he did not send it. He placed it in the mailbox, then stood on the porch, thinking. He stayed out there until the stars began to show, until the cold wrapped around him like a second skin. Then he brought the letter back inside, laid it gently on the kitchen table. He said out loud, "If you ever come home, it will be waiting." Months passed, slowly, like a song played too softly, a melody barely heard. The house did not change much. Her books stayed on the shelf. Her shawl still hung by the door. The cup she once drank from still sat by the window. Henry could not bring himself to move them. It felt wrong, like she might come back, just walk through the door, smiling, telling him about her dreams, or asking what was for dinner. But she did not come back, and neither did Tom. The mailbox stayed empty. No letter, no reply, no sign. Sometimes Henry would sit on the porch and look down the road, just in case that old car showed up, the one Tom used to drive when he was young. But the road stayed quiet. Only strangers passed. One Sunday, Henry went to church. The pastor spoke about forgiveness, about how letting go was not weakness, but freedom. Henry stared at the stained glass windows. The colors danced across his hands. He thought about Liz, how she forgave with her whole heart, how she loved without limit, even when it hurt, even when it broke her. She never hated. She never gave up. Not on him, not on Tom. After the service, he walked home slowly. The sun was soft. The air smelled like rain. He passed a little girl holding her father's hand, and it made his chest ache. He remembered the first time he held Tom. So small, so perfect. He remembered Liz saying, "He will love us forever." But forever does not always mean what we think it does. That night, Henry lit a candle. He placed it on the windowsill beside Liz's photo, and he spoke to her, like he always did. "Liz, I am trying. I am trying to let go of the anger. But some days, it is hard." He paused, looked at her smile in the photo, so full of warmth, so full of grace, and he whispered, "I miss you more than I can say." Then he sat in the old rocking chair, the one Liz used to read in, and he began writing, not to Tom, but to Liz. "You would have been proud of me today. I went to church. I didn't fall apart. I almost smiled at a baby in the back row. I think you would have liked her. She had your eyes." He folded the letter, tucked it inside her favorite book, a simple romance novel. with worn corners and soft pages. Every night, he wrote something new, a sentence, a memory, a moment, because even though she was gone, he was still full of things. He never got to say. One day, he opened the drawer again, the one with the envelope for Tom. He picked it up, held it, and, for a moment, he thought maybe he should send it. But then he remembered. It was never about hearing back. It was about Liz's voice, being heard. One last time, he placed the letter back gently, closed the drawer, and looked around the room. It was quiet, but not empty, because love, real love, never leaves a house. It stays, in the air, in the walls, in the light that falls across an old chair. When no one else is watching. Years passed. The house became older. The paint faded. The roof creaked in the wind. But inside, it stayed the same. Henry still sat on the porch every morning, with coffee in hand, with Liz in his thoughts. He spoke to her every day, some days with words, some days with silence. He would say things like, "You would have laughed at this," or, "I burned the toast again." The pain was no longer sharp, just soft, like a bruise that never goes away, but no longer makes you cry. Henry aged quietly. He walked slower, slept less, but he smiled more than he used to. He learned how to be alone, without being lonely, because Liz never truly left. She was in every room, in the breeze through the curtains, in the scent of tea at sunrise, in the letters tucked inside her favorite books. One afternoon, as he watered the plants, a car pulled into the driveway, a car he had not seen in decades. The door opened. A man stepped out, tall, grayer, eyes tired. It was Tom. Henry stood still. The watering can trembled in his hands. He said nothing, just waited. Tom looked around, as if searching for something he already knew he would not find. Then he spoke. "Is she?" Henry nodded. "She passed years ago." Tom lowered his head. "I know," he said. "I should have come sooner." Henry did not respond, not with words. He walked into the house, slow, deliberate, and returned with an envelope. He handed it to Tom. "It's from her." Tom looked down at the letter, his name written in soft, careful handwriting. He sat on the porch steps, opened it, and read. He said nothing at first, just held it, pressed it to his chest. Then he whispered, "She forgave me." Henry nodded. "She did, long before you asked." They sat in silence. Two men, a father and a son, a space between them, full of lost time. Tom finally asked, "Can I come inside?" Henry paused, then said, "You may." The house was quiet, but it was not cold. Tom walked through slowly, touched the old family photo, saw the candle on the windowsill. He found the small book with Liz's letters. He read one, then another, then one more. Tears rolled down his cheeks. "I never stopped loving her," he said. "I just did not know how to come back." Henry stood behind him, not angry, not bitter, just tired, and a little more at peace. "Some doors," he said, "are not locked. They are just heavy." Tom turned. Their eyes met, and for the first time in years, they saw each other, not as father and son, not as strangers, but as men, trying to find their way back to something that still lived. In memory, the sun began to set. A golden light filled the room. Soft, gentle, just like Liz used to be. Henry looked at the sky. He smiled and said, She would have liked this evening. Tom nodded. She would have forgiven me, like she always did. Henry placed a hand on his son's shoulder. Firm, but kind. She already did. And as night fell over the house, a new kind of quiet settled in. Not from sadness, but from healing. Because love, real love, waits without keeping score, forgives without being asked, and stays, even when we cannot.